I'm Paul Zigo. This is Cinema for Cynics, here with Chauncey, who loves a long movie. Even he'll agree, though, there is nothing worse than a movie that overstays its welcome. Trust me, being overstuffed with filler is the greatest sin a movie can commit. There are few worse feelings than being trapped with a film that takes forever to say nothing. Unfortunately, it's a common feeling. Even watching a shorter film can be torture under the right shitty circumstances. On the flip side, there are few better feelings than being sucked into a long movie packed with things to show and tell you. Some movies have more to say than can be crammed into 2 hours or less. So here, in no particular order, are 5 long films that are totally worth your time. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, 2003. I'd love to just call Peter Jackson's entire Lord of the Rings trilogy one film. I mean, if I'm going to watch one of them, I want to watch all of them. That aside, The Return of the King at 3 hours and 21 minutes is stuffed full of amazing scenes. I got teary-eyed, honestly, the first time I saw the last charge of Theoden and the Rohirrim outside of Minas Tirith. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's all the better reason to marathon these movies. Some bitch and complain that the film lingers too long in its ending, but they're all wrong. It should have been longer. We don't even get to see the remaining hobbits team up to kick Saruman out of Hobbiton. I'd love a 4.5-hour version that incorporates that plot line from the book. I'll admit, I'm a Lord of the Rings nerd, and of course my biases creep into these lists. I won't even try and set them aside here. This movie and the two that preceded it are gorgeous to look at, packed with epic, memorable scenes and characters, and totally worth losing an entire day to watch. Just stay away from the Hobbit movies, though. Trust me. Casino, 1995. I love a rise and fall gangster film, and there are quite a few that I could have thrown on this list. Once Upon a Time in America, The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, Scarface. For some reason, though, I find myself returning to Casino more than all of them. I think it's the setting. Casino may follow a cast of colorful gangsters, and I do mean colorful. I mean, check out Sam Rothstein here. Hubba hubba. But it's really a movie about Las Vegas in the end. I love the way that Vegas is presented. A city of glitz, greasy charm, and wish fulfillment, sitting alone in a desert sprinkled with the bodies of murder victims. Anybody standing in the way of the money flow in Vegas finds themselves sooner or later in the sandy hole. Watching Sam and his friend Nicky, played brilliantly by Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, as they muscle their way into the giant racket that is Vegas, only to have their friendship erode and crumble along the way, is totally mesmerizing. Even the supporting cast is great here. My favorite is Lester Diamond, played by James Woods. He's this kind of creepy, on-again, off-again ex-boyfriend of Sam's wife in the film. Listening to Sam call Lester a country club golf hustler, dripping with contempt, may be one of the sickest burns ever. At just under 3 hours, it's a long trip to the top and back again. But if you're like me, you'll want to head to the Tangiers Hotel again and again and again.
From my recollection, aren't you the card shark, the golf hustler, the pimp from Beverly Hills?
Patton, 1970. At 2 hours and 52 minutes, why is Patton worth your time? The answer is actor George C. Scott. His central performance in Patton is so mind-blowingly great that it's worth the price of admission all on its own. General George S. Patton Jr. was a famous tank commander in World War II, and even more importantly, a genuine American weirdo. Patton did things his way, all the way, and watching his hard-headed refusal to follow advice from his colleagues or the orders of his superiors is half the fun of the film. He knew better than all of them, and for good reason. I mean, were any of them the living reincarnation of soldiers and generals from ancient battles all across human history? Patton knew that he had fought alongside Alexander the Great and Napoleon, among others, in his previous lives. I mean, who the fuck does he need advice from? Patton's certainty in himself is the central story here, and even though we see him on the field commanding tanks and men, his real battle is against those who think they know better than him, and nobody knows better than him. How could they? If there was a better way of doing things, he'd already be doing it. Give Patton a try if you've never seen it. Just remember, your job is to watch. Keep your mouth shut and your eyes open and watch a man with real backbone and a goddamn purpose do his job. Now get behind him, get out of the way.
That's why Americans have never lost and will never lose a war. Because the very thought of losing is hateful to Americans.
Inland Empire, 2006. Asking people to spend 3 hours with David Lynch can be a tall order. His movies are about as polarizing as they can get. There are these pretentious idiots like me who love to speculate about the meaning of his work, and there are these empty-headed buffoons who, like TJ, who dismiss it as artsy-fartsy nonsense. And then there are the great gray middle, people who just don't get it and don't care to try. And that us versus them bullshit aside, though, you should really take a look at Inland Empire. Even if you end up hating it, it's a net gain because you can discuss it with others. What is Inland Empire about? Well, as some of the promotional materials for the film state, it's about a woman in trouble. Laura Dern plays essentially herself in the film, an aging actress whose relevance has long since come and gone. As she pursues a role that she hopes will help her make a comeback, the lines between reality and the part she's playing begin to blur, then they merge, then they disappear entirely. As in many David Lynch films, time is rather meaningless here, and the film skips around from timeline to timeline and reality to reality without a care for your desires for a more traditional narrative. What is Lynch saying? Well, there's certainly a heaping spoonful of commentary on Hollywood, how it chews up talent and then shits it out at the other end without a thought. Superstition is explored, as well as what it means to be happy with yourself as you are, but these are just surface level guesses. I could, and I might, spend an entire video laying out what I think Inland Empire is trying to say, and that's assuming it's trying to say anything at all. Watching this movie is only half the fun. The other half comes in the form of discussions and arguments with other people that have seen it. Hamlet, 1996. I usually warn people away from screen adaptations of Shakespeare's work. It seems to me to be the ultimate act of hubris. I mean, how the fuck are you, or anyone, going to edit Shakespeare for time? Who the fuck are you to decide which phrases are meaningful and which aren't in a total fucking masterwork? My advice is, and remains despite this recommendation, to go see Shakespeare live and unabridged. I mean, there's so much to learn in his works, and editing out huge chunks of them to make room for modern bullshit that's inserted to help you connect is like neutering yourself to save time washing your balls. Thankfully, for those of you that can't or won't go to a live production, Kenneth Branagh exists. Every line of dialogue from the play is here. Every scene is represented. Nothing in terms of dialogue is cut from the script at all. That makes Hamlet the longest movie on this list at a whopping 4 hours and change. Look, I'm a theater dork who worships Shakespeare, but I can empathize with people who have a hard time with it. You have to be willing, sometimes line by line, to puzzle out and modernize the things being said. The good news is, for those of you that are willing to familiarize yourselves with the vernacular of Shakespeare's work, every line is full of surprises and lessons and insights into the way humans think about themselves and the way they behave towards one another. For some, it's the toughest watch on the list. It's also the best way to see Shakespeare without going to a live show. Here's a tip, though. If Mel Gibson appears anywhere in the film, you have the wrong Hamlet movie. Stop watching it immediately. Take my word for it.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more.
And there we have it. 5 long-ass movies that are worth every minute. Did I miss a favorite of yours? Do you think I'm an idiot for my picks? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, leave a like below. Subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to turn on those alerts so that you know when the new shit hits. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.
Mel Gibson was the best Hamlet.
Boo!